Hi, I'm Ashley from Sunnymead, and today on Tip Week, we are going to talk about rotary cutters. Hello, friends. Welcome back. I'm glad you're here. It's time for a new week, and today we are talking tips. And I have a few notes here, but today I wanted to give you 5 tips on using your rotary cutter and helping you with your quilting. This is obviously a tool that we use all the time. It makes quilting so much easier and so much more precise than just regular scissors. And so I had a few tips that I wanted to share with you. So first one, of course, we're going to talk safety. I know that every rotary cutter is different, but I have a little button here that pulls my shield down when I'm ready to cut. And when I push it back up, it pulls my shield back up. Now the shield is the part on my rotary cutter that protects the blade so that when I go like this, my finger does not get near the blade. It is the one that makes sure that I don't get cut. So safety wise, whenever you're done with your rotary cutter, make sure you put that shield all back in place every single time, no matter what. I started quilting when I still had little kids around, and I did not want them to come up and grab this and have that blade exposed. So that was one of those habits that I started right off the bat to make sure that I didn't have any issues with me getting cut or fingers getting cut. And part 2 of my safety tips is, I just dropped my notes. When you are cutting, okay, I am right-handed, so I cut with my right hand. I put my left hand down on the ruler that I'm using, and I go right along the edge of my of that ruler. And my second half of that tip is make sure you keep your fingers out of the way and you're pushing hard on that ruler so that it's not moving. If it moves and slips, that might be when your fingers get in the way. So close the blade and keep your fingers out of the way. There's tip 1. Okay, second, let's go back to how we use it with a ruler. When we are using our rotary cutter with the ruler, we want to make sure that our blade is straight up and down, that it is not to the side. We also want to make sure that we're not pushing too hard on our blade. If our blade is not cutting our fabric with light pressure, then it is time to change the blade on your rotary cutter. Also, if you're pushing too hard on your rotary cutter, in order for it to cut your fabric, you're also damaging your cutting mat. Those cutting mats can get quite expensive, so you want to make sure that you are not pushing too hard on them. If you push too hard, even those self-healing mats are not going to self-heal and they're going to fall apart faster. So make sure you're putting your left hand down or your right hand on the ruler, depending on what's your non-dominant hand, and you are using your blade right along the edge of the rulers. I also find that I want to hold my blade and the handle so it's comfortable. Sometimes I end up with the point of my rotary cutter in the middle of my hand, and that hurts my hand and sometimes causes my hand to go numb. So make sure when you are using your blade that you are using it in a comfortable position. Tip 3, we are going to talk about when to change our blades. Rule of thumb. These are a couple rule of thumbs. 1, change your blade after each project. Okay, That's simple. Every single time you'll change it, it'll be perfect and ready to go for your next project. However, here are a few reasons when you might also want to change your blade. As I mentioned before, if you're having to push really hard when you are cutting, it's time to change your blade. If when you are cutting, it is skipping threads and you're having to go back over it, change your blade. If when you are cutting, you end up with frays along the edge of your pieces, it could just be single threads. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Change your blade. Those are 3 times that your blade needs to be changed and that it's ready for a new one. What's nice about a new blade, however, is that it cuts so nicely that you'll want to change your blade more often. So it's not that much work to cut out your pieces or to trim up your pieces. Tip 4, when you do change out this blade, make sure you take a scrap piece of fabric, clean the front, clean the back, clean around the bolt here. I have a bolt, I think most of them do. Clean around the bolt, clean the screw that goes through the head of the rotary cutter. Make sure you give it a nice clean. Wipe down. Sometimes those fibers get caught into the inside of this and it will just gum up your rotary cutter. So make sure you give it a nice cleaning when you switch out that blade. Okay, one more little tip to go with our safety. When you are switching out your blades, make sure that you dispose of them properly. Don't leave them out. If you have one, put them in an old blade case. Put them all together so that you are not leaving them where other people can get a hold of them or just in the trash where they might cut the bag. And then you end up with a big mess or someone else gets cut with it. So make sure you dispose of them properly. Okay, and tip 5. Most of these I kind of already went over as I went through the other tips, but it is, why do you want a new blade? First, it makes cutting so much easier. You're not having to put a lot of pressure. You're not hurting your arm. Sometimes I find I've done so much cutting or trimming when I'm trimming up blocks like half square triangles, my arm here or even my forearm starts to get sore. A nice blade is not going to cause my hand, my arm to get sore. It's not going to mess up your mat because you're cutting nicely. You're not having to push real hard. So that's nice. You won't get any fraying, or you won't have to go back over the pieces you are having to cut out. And just that it's easier to cut. Those are all my notes here on the bottom of my little sticky note. So it is so nice to get a new blade on your rotary cutter, and it allows you to be able to work with your fabric a lot better. Now, do you have any other tips that I might have missed? Would love to hear about them. Put them down in the comment section below. Other than that, I hope you have a great week and happy sewing.